My New Year's resolutions for 2021. Watch Dirk Cutter get fired. And I guess that's it. What's going on, Falcons fans? Logan here. Welcome back to Rise Up Rundown, and if you're new here, welcome. I seem to keep being out of town in my newest videos. I was in North Georgia, and now here I am in Daytona Beach. I just can't seem to stay in my own home for some reason, but here I am in not the ideal place for a Rise Up Rundown video, but I will be back home starting tomorrow. Now, the 2020 Atlanta Falcons season is officially done, thank goodness, honestly, and we can move on to the 2021 offseason where things get a little more interesting than watching the Falcons blowing a lead. Now, I do want to point out some takeaways that I saw from the 2020 Falcons season, and I think all of this is pretty interesting, so let's get into it starting right now. Alright, here we go. 5 takeaways from the 2020 Atlanta Falcons season. Now, I will point out there that a lot of the takeaways in this video are not necessarily positive takeaways, but if you really think about it, I don't know how you can have positive takeaways from a 4-12 season, but it is what it is. Here we go. The first takeaway that I got from the 2020 Falcons season, this is one that I didn't really want to admit. This is something I didn't really want to believe, because it's just something that really makes you kind of, you know, depressed, but it also makes you think, well, it is what it is. And this is also a take that we shouldn't have seen only in the 2020 season. We should have seen this in years past, but I'll say it, man, this team is not over Super Bowl 51 yet. Just, you can tell, man, like, there were players admitting that the locker room energy was stale ever since the 2017 lost to the Eagles in the divisional round, and you know, you have the Falcons in years past, not just for this year, but in years past, like, they were fighting for games that they really cared about, like against the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, they want to win that game, right? That was against Kyle Shanahan. It seemed to me like early on they just didn't give a crap about who else they wanted to play, and then this year they were in a lot of games, but I don't know, there were some games in specific where you could tell they really wanted to win that. Like the first game against Tom Brady and the Bucs, like they definitely came up with these creative play calls and all this firepower on offense. Yeah, we want to beat Tom Brady. And the other games, you know, it was there, but we definitely weren't being creative on offense. You know, the defense was not the best. Like, I don't know, you could just tell they were only fighting for games they wanted to win. That were based on Super Bowl 51, I guess. And then when they're choking leads, I think part of it is actually just they have that mindset of, oh crap, how are we going to hold on to the lead? We keep choking. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but it really could be a bad mindset. Whenever they're up, they just think, oh crap, how are we going to choke? And it sounds, again, it sounds crazy, but it's like, well, why else would they be choking, honestly? Like, I don't know, man. This team very clearly is not over Super Bowl 51. They're keeping that same exact 2016 Super Bowl roster for 4 freaking years, and they're not producing any freaking result. And it makes you think this team is just chasing something that is never going to come back to them, you know? Like, they're trying to get revenge from something that happened 4 years ago, and that just sounds insane. Like, that sounds ridiculous. Why can't you just find a new game plan and, you know, see where that can go instead of chasing something in the past that you know for 4 straight years you're never gonna get back to that same 2016 Super Bowl again, you know? Like, I don't know. This team is not over Super Bowl 51. I didn't really want to admit that. I was always one of those fans that was like, oh, no, like, everything's okay, I promise. Like, we're making moves to, you know, be better. And no, we're not. Like, all we're doing is trying to go back to 4 years ago when we should be focusing on the present. But anyway, the second takeaway from the 2020 Atlanta Falcons season, this one's pretty debatable. And keep in mind, when I say that the Atlanta Falcons actually have themselves a better defense than you might think, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm saying the defense is good. You know, I'm just saying it's a lot better than a lot of people think. A lot of people really want to think that this defense is just historically terrible. It's awful. It's so atrocious. It's like so hard to watch on TV, but it's not as bad as you think it is. And I think the reason people say it's so atrocious and so terrible, awful, is because of how it was under Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's defense was letting up like 38 points, 40 points, just so many freaking points, and we were so soft. But, you know, ever since Raheem Morris took over, the defense was actually solid. You know, it wasn't good, but it was solid. In fact, did you know that only 2 games under Raheem Morris, only 2 freaking games, the defense let up 30 plus points? And ironically, those 2 games were against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the Week 17 game, if you really think about it, I think they kind of were just mailing it. Like, I don't think they really cared about that game. But so technically, they only let up 30 plus points 1 time under Raheem Morris. Whereas Dan Quinn, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. In every game under Raheem Morris, let me just show you how many points they let up. Against the Minnesota Vikings, the 4th best offense in the league, they let up 23 points. Against the Detroit Lions with Matthew Stafford, they let up 23 points. The Carolina Panthers, they let up 17 points. Not the best team, but it's still good of you to hold them to not that many points. If it was Dan Quinn, they would find every way possible to score 50. And then the only bad one was scoring or letting up 27 points against the Denver Broncos, but then you had 24 points against the Saints the first time, 21 points the second time, 6 points against the 8th ranked Las Vegas Raiders offense, 6. Then against the 9th ranked Los Angeles Chargers offense with Justin Herbert, who's probably going to win Rookie of the Year, we let up 20 points. And then against the number 1 offense in the Kansas City Chiefs with a potential league MVP in Patrick Mahomes, and they're probably going to win the Super Bowl again, we let up 17 points. Would any of that happen if Dan Quinn was the coach? No. So I'm just telling you, man, like, I'm not saying this defense is good. There are definitely areas on this defense that need to improve. But it's not this atrocious, terrible unit like everyone makes it out to be. With that being said, though, the third takeaway I have is the roster needs a lot more help than we all think. In the years past, it's safe to say all of us, I hate to say it, but I think it was a little bit of wishful thinking that the roster was just so freaking loaded and talented and we didn't need to, you know, upgrade that much. But after this year, there's so much we need to fix. Like, the pass rush is inconsistent again. The secondary is inconsistent again. Ricardo Allen is not, I'm not even sure if he's going to be here. Isaiah Oliver, he's not the answer. Say what you want. And then what's his name? DeMonte KZ probably won't be here. Secondary is in trouble. Running backs, we need running backs a lot. We need a new O-line, especially because Alex Mack is probably going to retire. Jake Matthews might not even be here. And then the rest of the O-line are not rookies, but they're definitely younger players. And definitely the most debatable position. Some people are understanding how important this is for the Falcons to draft in the draft. And then there's some people kind of trying to deny that the Falcons need to draft another player on this position. But I'm sorry, the quarterback position is in trouble. I know what you're going to say. Oh, Matt Ryan was, I believe, top 5 in passing yards to finish the season. And, you know, he's scoring a lot of points. Look at his stats. Look at the box score. This is not me saying Matt Ryan is a bad quarterback. But, you know, drafting a quarterback doesn't necessarily mean that Matt Ryan sucks. It really just kind of means, guys, like, how confident do you feel that Matt Ryan's seriously going to be here for, I'm going to say it, man, the next 2 years? With the cap space that the Falcons have, I definitely do not see the Falcons having enough money to keep him. And then Matt Schaub retired. Sorry, but Kurt Benkert is not QB number 2. So it's not, drafting a quarterback doesn't necessarily mean that Matt Ryan sucks. It's just, sorry, but Matt Ryan's not going to be here for much longer. You need to draft a quarterback. Believe it or not, but we do. Sorry. But I won't go further into depth on that because, spoiler alert for the next podcast episode I'm going to make, but I did kind of spoil it on Twitter earlier. This week's topic is why it's not necessarily a bad thing for the Falcons to draft a quarterback in the first round of the draft. But let's move on. The fourth takeaway I have from the 2020 Atlanta Falcons season, and this is the first positive I've said, is the linebacker position is set. This is the only position on the Atlanta Falcons that I feel is 100% complete. You have Deion Jones, Foye Oluokun. I'm really proud of what I said about him entering the season. He is definitely a monster, and he deserves to stay on this team. And Michael Walker is a pretty good linebacker. So this is the only position on the Falcons that I feel is set. Now, could they improve their coverage skills? I guess, sure. But for the most part, I think they're pretty good linebackers. And then the fifth takeaway, it's kind of a pro and con for the Falcons. The Falcons might actually be okay without Julio Jones. Yes, you do still need that mentor, you need that veteran presence, but I don't know, man. Julio Jones didn't play that much this season, but Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage were A-okay. Like, they were stacking up some numbers and stats with and without Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley was keeping this offense alive. Russell Gage was making really big plays. And usually, whenever the offense is in sync, whenever the offense is about to have some sort of game-winning drive, it's usually on Julio Jones. But Julio Jones didn't play that much, and the offense was perfectly fine. So it's a pro and con because at least it shows that we have two really good receivers. Like, we have a wide receiver number 1 and 2 for the future. But that does kind of make you question if the Falcons move on from Julio Jones, who's going to be that wide receiver number 3? That is your only question. So if Julio Jones leaves Atlanta soon, because he can't really stay here for much longer, just like Matt Ryan, who is going to be wide receiver number 3. And by the way, that's not me saying that Julio Jones is wide receiver number 3. I'm just saying, then you only have 2 good wide receivers in Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage, who will be the 3rd. But yeah, that's all I have. I was trying to find 10 takeaways from the 2020 season, because I had 10 takeaways from the 2019 season, but for some reason I could not find 10 takeaways. I could only find 5, but I think all of these takeaways are pretty good. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Other than that, I will see you guys with a video this Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Love and appreciate you all for the support, and as always, rise up.